Welcome to the Love Your Life and Yourself podcast, the weekly show where science meets soul and mom chaos meets mind mastery. You're not just a mom. You're a woman with dreams, a career, a body that needs care, and a soul that craves more. This podcast is your permission slip to stop surviving and start thriving in motherhood, health, career, and stress resilience. I'm your host, Dr. Ashley Rath, and every week we bring you actionable insights and transformative conversations to help you create a life you truly love. From evidence-based wellness strategies to authentic self-discovery, we'll explore what it takes to thrive through expert interviews and real unfiltered stories. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashley Rath, and today we're diving into the weighted vest. Now, part of me, when I first started looking to this, I thought this is just the new sexy trend that's all over social media. Anyone in their 30s, 40s, or 50s is wearing it, taking a walk or run or doing household chores. And I, of course, bought one because I am into all the biohacking tools and all the fun stuff. And I was working at home. I work Tuesdays from my home office, and I am on Zooms talking to clients all over the world about balancing hormones and how they can help their patients. And I found myself in the afternoons really challenged by focus from most likely lack of movement all day. And so I took it upon myself. I had ordered a weighted vest many months ago and have not used it. How many of us are guilty of that? I was like, you know what? My body loves movement. I am a physiological learner. I learn by moving. And so I decided to give it a try because in chiropractic school, for me to focus and study for 7, 8 hours in a day, I actually sat on a yoga ball and I would bounce and study and bounce and study and bounce and study. So if I wanted more mental clarity, I thought, okay, I got to move my body more. So we have a treadmill downstairs and the weighted vest was down there. So I took it out and I put it on and I had about 15 minutes before my next call and I put the weighted vest on and walked, not ran, not jogged, walked for about 7 minutes. And I was definitely breathing heavier and faster than me just going for a regular walk without the weighted vest. So I was like, wow, that absolutely did something. That did something way more than just my casual walk on the treadmill with my headphones in. And so I actually got curious. I thought, okay, this maybe isn't just a fad going through social media. This might have some research behind it. So I started digging, and here we are today with that digging. So, really, today, what I'm going to talk to you about is we're going to look at what the research says, how weighted vests can affect your overall health, including bone density, metabolism, insulin response, stress physiology, and if this is just a fancy new tool or if it's worth implementing into your daily life. And if so, how do we do that safely and effectively? So, really, my goal was fairly unbiased of research. It's like, okay, is this really worth it? Is it worth all the hype? And for, 30, 40 bucks on Amazon, I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And then I started digging, which brings me to some of the research. And there was so much more research than I thought, from bone density to metabolic activity to safety to feasibility to muscle growth and body compensation, insulin sensitivity. And I was like, holy crap, this actually has some weight, no pun intended, to it. There's actually research to back weighted vests and how we use them. There's this really cool study that I came across on weighted vests, and it looked at postmenopausal women. And I found this one really interesting because one of the big, I guess you could say, concerns in perimenopause, menopause is bone density and continuing to have muscle mass. as you enter into perimenopause, menopause, and then long-term life. And we know that bone density, like if you fall and break your hip, your longevity and quality of life drastically decreases as you become more elderly. So bone density is incredibly important as you're entering into those years, and really to understand how we set ourselves up. It actually starts way before menopause and how we can support our bodies. However, this particular study looked at postmenopausal women, and they had participants wear a weighted vest during impact exercises. And the results were very clear. They maintained hip bone density, the group that wore the vest, while the control group, who did not wear the weighted vest, continued to lose it. And the takeaway is this external load, this extra weight applied consistently stimulates bone remodeling. This is extremely important, again, for our perimenopausal women and menopausal women, where the bone turnover begins to accelerate. The other study I found really interesting was how it affects our metabolic function. Now, I have been in balancing hormones for a little over a year now and really, really diving deep into that. And so we test hormones in our office, starting with cortisol. We also test both fasting and non-fasting insulin. So we really are looking at that metabolic function and how our metabolic function plays such a massive role in our overall health and wellness. And I recently came across what's called type 3 diabetes. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but it's essentially Alzheimer's. That's a topic for another show, but we're seeing how our metabolic function, insulin sensitivity, has a drastic effect on all of our external health and our quality of health. And so when we have low impact movement and exercise, because we know exercise helps our metabolic function, right? It has so many benefits, but when you add weight to it, you're working harder without really needing to change your speed or duration. And the benefits of that is just going to amplify that metabolic function, meaning you are going to do the same amount of work. Let's say you're going for a walk and you are going to walk a mile. You put a weighted vest on, you are going to do more, your body is going to do more work, but you're not really going to put any more time in or length of the walk. You're not going for a 4-mile walk, you're going for a 1-mile walk. And so this is really important because we all are strapped for time, right? We all live chaotic, crazy lives. And so if we can decrease the amount of time we need to exercise and have exponential amounts of benefits in now bone density and metabolic function, well, I'm telling you that that's huge. That's a big finding and an exciting finding, right? This other smaller study showed improvements when we're talking about metabolic markers. This other smaller study showed improvements in body composition. This is a recent study, so done in 2024. It showed to have improved body compensation and insulin sensitivity when weighted vests were added to a whole body circuit training. Meaning, if you were going to work out and do a full body workout, you are going to actually improve your body compensation. So, meaning you're transferring fat, metabolic fat to, or like active fat tissue to lean muscle mass. So, you're improving your body composition. You're lowering essentially your body fat composition to lean muscle mass. So, we know, and it aligns that this mechanical load improves your metabolic health in multiple ways. So, what does this actually mean for women, especially in our perimenopause, menopause? So, when we bring all this research together, there's a clear message that emerges. Women in this life stage benefit tremendously from small, consistent increases in load. That's why I tell my patients all the time, we need you to strength train. We absolutely need you to strength train. There are so many benefits when it comes to metabolic function, insulin sensitivity, bone density, muscle mass, lean muscle mass, strength, and mobility and functionality. When we add a weighted vest to the day-to-day daily movements of going for a walk or doing daily chores, we're essentially strength training without really strength training. Now, caveat, I don't want you to stop strength training. I don't want you to stop lifting heavy weights. But if we can add a simple weighted vest while we're doing life things, well, we're significantly better off, especially if you don't do any strength training. So you don't necessarily need to overhaul your whole routine. You simply need to add this weighted vest to the movements that you're already doing, which is incredible because I hear this all the time. I don't have time. I don't have time. My life is chaos. I don't want to do one more thing. And guess what? You can clean the house in a weighted vest and you're going to get drastically more health benefits from that than just cleaning it without the weighted vest. And it's very inexpensive. I mean, you're talking 20 to the upwards of $80 for this hack. And you can get different weights. So I always say like start light and then you can work your way up. I got a vest where you can take weights on and off. So then you can kind of find what a good starting point is. But even just start with 5 to 10 pounds. You can work your way up to a heavier 20-pound, or if you are male and you're, already doing a ton of strength training, you may need a heavier weighted vest, even up to like 40, 50 pounds. We don't need to necessarily rush to increase the load either. We first need to really just get consistent. So wearing the vest on walks, during chores, for short periods during the day, housework, and then, once we get used to that, we can absolutely add it to some of our strength training, doing it at kids' activity, or I know this sounds funny, but going grocery shopping, or, when you're out and about running errands too. We live in Minnesota here, so you could cover it up with a sweatshirt, no problem, and no one would even know. The big important thing is with weighted vests is we want to make sure that your center of gravity hasn't changed, meaning like they're going to slightly change your center of gravity. So you have to make sure to practice this, shoulders back, down in your back pocket, tall spine, ribs stacked over the pelvis, and your core engaged. You're not like amplifying bad posture, essentially. We don't want to create any more problems or any problems to begin with. And I know I said this already, but it is not a replacement for strength training directly. This is really just a support tool. So after digging into some of this research, I was like, all right, game on. We should do this. There is some interesting things of why it works so well. So I think the difference between like carrying around dumbbell versus a weighted vest, like it's closer to your core and it makes your hands free. So you can be juggling your family and doing chores or gardening and still have, quote, a workout without really doing much more than, what you're already doing. So in my opinion, weighted vests, they come, and I touched very high level on the research. There's so much more research than what I said around bone density and metabolic function and lean muscle mass. And so I just wanted to caveat that if you are looking for more, do a quick Chat GPT or Perplexity search on weighted vests, and there's significantly more research to back just a simple weighted vest and what that will do. So here's my hack, my more recent hack of what I am doing to stay healthy, and that is adding weighted vests to my routines. So if you found this helpful, please share it. Share it with your other friends. Leave me a review. This really helps get the word out, and I would appreciate it so much. So talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Love Your Life and Yourself. I hope today's episode gave you one more tool or one more truth to help you thrive in your health, happiness, and resilience. Remember, loving yourself isn't selfish. It's leadership. And it's the foundation for building a life that actually feels like yours. If this spoke to you, hit that follow button, leave a review, and send it to a friend who needs to hear it. And if you want to dive even deeper, grab a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Love Your Life and Yourself. It's the heart behind this podcast, and it's helped thousands of women step into a life they actually love. You can find it at drashleyrath.com or through the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care of you and keep choosing to love your life and yourself.